Well, the report is out and it's damning, and it's all centered around the rideshare company Uber. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, a nonprofit network of reporters, released the report after sifting through troves of internal text messages, emails, and invoices that revealed Uber actually lobbied political leaders to relax labor laws, develop tactics to thwart regulators and law enforcement, and even considered betraying violence against its drivers as a way to gain public sympathy. For more on this, New York Times technology reporter and author of Super Pumped, The Battle for Uber, Mike Isaac, joining me now. Mike, good to see you. Boy, this is your time to talk and talk about your book, too. All right, let's focus on this whistleblower first. Uber's former chief lobbyist for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, Mark McGahn. Why did he come forward, and why did he do it now?
Yeah, it's interesting timing. McGahn, I had heard of his name, through the course of reporting the book, but he, as he admits, he was not part of the executive team, but was pretty instrumental in lobbying a number of the governments overseas as Uber was expanding throughout 2016 and onward. And he said, what he said was, I'm exposing a system of lies and fraud that this company used to basically expand upon. And I think, honestly, I think it's like a different sort of sea change moment in tech in general, where people inside of companies over the past few years are really looking back on what sort of actions they took to be successful. And you see the same thing at companies like Facebook, which is now called Meta, with that whistleblower, Frances Haugen, coming forward, delivering tons of documents. Other people are coming from other companies on a regular basis. And so I'm not really super shocked that this is now becoming more of a thing as whistleblowers come out of the woodwork.
So what stood out to you the most from this report?
Well, I found it really fascinating that, part of it was just sort of showing the extent of the lobbying network that Uber had with officials across the country. There were text messages between McGahn and Emmanuel Macron, the French head of France at the time and currently, and just sort of saying this is what Uber's goals are moving into the country. I know we're having violent clashes at the time. Can you basically help us? And Macron sort of, acquiescing to some of Uber's questions or even demands at some point, which was very interesting. This is kind of stock and trade for a lot of large tech companies expanding into different countries. So on the one hand, you could argue this is kind of how it works, but that, it was just sort of a really illuminating look at it. The other part I think was really interesting is just showing there were violent clashes between Uber and taxi drivers in France, especially, and in countries they were expanding. And Kalanick just sort of underscored that the violence is kind of the point a lot of the time, like these moving into new countries is a very difficult part of expansion. And sometimes you just sort of have to get your hands dirty to push inside, which I think was an understood thing in Silicon Valley, but hardly ever expressed that explicitly, at least in text messages.
Right. And so, we'll talk more about the taxi driver situation in a minute, because that was sort of interesting. This sort of, saying that violence guarantees success was sort of this mantra coming out of Uber. But, these leaked files span from 2013 to 2017, and that's before Uber came under new leadership. The current Uber CEO, as you know, Dara Khosrowshahi, joined in 2017. So in a written statement, Uber's spokesperson, Jill Hazelbacker, acknowledged quote-unquote mistakes in the past and said that the new CEO had been tasked with transforming every aspect of how Uber operates. So do you think there has been significant changes now?
Yeah, it's funny. Uber's, what they call Uber 2.0, this new version of Uber, their plan for the past few years has been to basically say, this was all our predecessor, this was all the founder, And in 2017, there was a reckoning that basically replaced the founder with this new CEO. I don't think it's unfair to say there has been massive turnover. I believe Hazel Baker says 90% of the company is completely new employees since Travis left the company. And a lot of the old timers left and went to Travis's new startup with him. So I think there is absolutely new DNA in the company. I mean, some things that don't change are the business model of Uber, right? It's still a on-demand, non-employment sort of work service that requires tons of labor and has a lot of clashes in different countries with people who don't like the model. So maybe they're doing things a different way now, which I think is probably fair, but it's still the same service, and they're still going to come up against people who don't like Uber in their country.
Well, I know we'll be talking more, and I know you'll be writing a lot more, too. Mike Isaac, great to see you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.